Hey there everybody, my name is Corbin. Thank you so very much for joining me today. I just want to start this video off by saying I'm sorry. I know that my other video said soft-spoken in the title, and I made the mistake of going back and watching one of them and realized I am just talking at a normal volume, and it does not sound like I even adjusted my volume at all. But I assure you, if you were in the room with me, it would be like I'm whispering. This is probably even still going to sound pretty loud, but like I am just breaking over a whisper. And so, yeah, my bad guys. But anyways, today's video is just going to be about, recognizing when you get a small win, and how that, it might not be the highlight of your year or even your month or even your week, but how all of that equates to something, and all of it is amalgamated together, and things like that can't be taken for granted, because if you break your life down by tally marking good and bad things, it's like it's always going to be depressing. That's why this is a bit of kind of a story time for me. But I've said in previous videos, talking about this apartment and talking about it was a decision that was not the smartest financially, but one that I was very proud to do. But something I did leave out was back in I think it was October of last year. So after living in here for 2-3 months and still being as ignorant and naive as I was, I re-signed for a second year, and that was not the right decision. To keep it brief, that was not a decision that was going to really get me out of being a broke college student. If I want to take any effective strides on paying off student loans and things like that, I got to start making those moves now. And for probably 5 months now, I have been looking for somebody to take over my lease for my apartment. I even made a Facebook account. That's crazy. See, it doesn't seem like much to the average Joe, but I always swore I was never going to make a Facebook account, and then of course I make a Facebook account. Really exciting story, huh, guys? But anyways, after all this time and all my friends reassuring me, just give it time, it'll work out, I finally got someone to take over my lease, and I'm in the process of getting ready to move out here in the next week or two, and I'm going to be going from living alone to living in a house with 4 other people, and that's going to be a shift. However, 2 of them are people that I've lived with before, and they're great. Shout out John and Mason. Shout out John and Mason. But I've just really, it was such a relief off of me, and it's not the biggest deal in the world, but in hindsight, it really is just that's going to make everything so much easier. I'm going to be by more than half cutting my rent, and it's going to open up a lot more opportunities to travel and to get music things, and just really kind of just have a little bit of fold money, and that's fun to me, because I realize since I've moved to college, I've spent money that I shouldn't have spent, but I've never really had money that is used for spending. I've never just had some pocket change, and it feels like that's not any lack of me working. That's literally just, I live in a pretty humongous city, and so, or at least right next to a pretty humongous city, and it is pretty expensive to live here, and so, but that was the main point that I wanted to make, was just it's not the highlight of my year, and it's not the biggest deal or the biggest thing that's ever happened to me, but little steps like that, little wins even, they always equate to something, and they always mean something at the end of the day. I think that so many people take moments like that for granted because they look at it as more of like a, oh, thank God, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen, finally, I'm out of this lease, and not like, thank God, I'm out of this lease, like, this is perfect. I can finally, like, this will open up so many opportunities for me. And I think just making that switch, at least for me, just making a switch in my mentality, and not looking at things really as like a task that I'm checking off, but more like there was a chance that it wouldn't happen, and there was a chance that it was completely out of my hands. Like if nobody ever responded to my Facebook post, then I would still be here another year, and I would make it work. I always make it work, but it would be so much harder than it would need to be. And I just feel like, when I've really sat down and thought about, like, wow, this is just such a huge weight lifted off my shoulders, it really makes me, think more positively about just my day-to-day life and my day-to-day things, There's so many stressors. I mean, studies have shown that our age group and our just generation is the most stressed and depressed group of people. And it's like, I feel like we are in a very niche perspective right now where we can really just make strides, not only as like a group of people, but like for ourselves, just to think more positively, and at least eliminating that little bit of stress that you get from thinking negatively, or that lot of bit of stress. A lot of people get torn up thinking about stuff like that, and it's just really important to keep in mind that everything that happens, everything that is going to happen, all these little things, whether or not, you're doing your laundry and you find $5, you're like, it's $5 you already had, but it's $5 that, because it's popping up right now, maybe you didn't have enough money for gas, and it's like, that $5 will get you at least 2 cups full of gas. It'll actually get you nothing in gas, but again, I live in a huge city, so, but that's beside the point. It's really important to remind ourselves, like, all these things, they mean something, and I think the way that we look at them is really going to deter how our outlook on everything is going to be. I feel like the more that we sit and nitpick all of our decisions, and again, I've expressed, like, I've been through the ringer thinking about, like, oh God, I've made such an irreversible decision living here. It's so stressful. It's so yada yada yada. And it's like, what does that help now? How does that help me get out of this situation instead of, beating myself up? You got to start looking at it like, hey, I made the decision, and if this is where I'm going to be for another year, instead of, telling myself, like, that's it, that's game, I threw, I can just look at it like, all right, I will accommodate for the idea that I will be here another year versus expecting to get out of the lease. Because it really is just how you switch your mindset on things. And so it's not inherently relevant to any of you guys. However, it actually is relevant to a lot of you guys, because a lot of you that watch these videos are people that I know and people that live here, and even the roommates that I'm talking about, they watch these videos, which I appreciate a lot. But I know it's not really relevant to any of you guys, and it really just goes to show, like, I'm 1 out of 8, near 9 billion people on Earth who all have these very specific and ultra exclusive problems that are so important to each one of us. And it's like, when you really break it down, I'm one of the 8 to 9 billion people who is sitting down and just talking about, this very small, trivial problem that I got fixed. And that's why I was just like, it'd be a good idea to talk about how those little small wins, which are even smaller in the grand perspective of everyone, but that small win really does mean something. And I think when you value those small wins, it really does just make everything easier to put into perspective. And so, yeah, I just, a little conclusion paragraph to this video. I've realized when I make these videos, I just get the chance to kind of just yap. And anyone who knows me in person knows that if given the opportunity, I will jabber my jaw. I will talk for sure. And I've gotten a little bit better about it, but God forbid you talk about any thing that I'm interested in, because good God, I will just wear my mouth. But that's why these videos are so fun to make for me, because it's just like, I feel like I'm kind of just saying the same thing over and over and over, but I just have a different main idea and a different topic for each video. But at the end of the day, I'm okay with that. I think the best comparison is Cigarettes After Sex. Their entire discography, it's the same exact song, but God, is that one song just so good, and I'm gonna listen to every one of them. So I think if all my videos are kind of talking about the same thing, I'm okay with that. If what I'm talking about is just appreciating the small things in life, because once you start doing that, your whole life opens up to a different perspective, and it just helps you get through things like that, But anyways, that's enough yapping for me. But again, I appreciate you guys watching. To everyone who has even made it this far, thank you. Drop a like, sub, comment, do whatever you want. I'm really enjoying making these. If 5 people watch them, if however many people watch, this is just fun for me, because like I said, I like to